and the citation being on file for the required period of time. And so what you're going to do is you're going to execute that proof of death and other facts, just as your name is typed on there, before a notary public, as well as your oath that he sent you. And you will have both those documents notarized, return those to Mr. Reynolds, who's in court with me here today. He will e-file those with the county clerk. When he does so, I will sign the order admitting the will to probate and authorizing the clerk to issue letters testamentary. I'm going to give Mr. Reynolds an instruction sheet from my court that he will send to you that will tell you what your duties and responsibilities are. On the date I sign the order, you have 90 days from that date to file an inventory, appraisement, and list of claims, and he'll explain to you what that involves. So keep in contact with him on that issue so that we get that timely filed, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I hope you have a great evening, and Mr. Reynolds will talk to you a little bit later.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Oh, no, sir. Just good seeing you. I'll get the documents we talked about yesterday to you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sell.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, you did a great job there. I might have done a little different, but it's okay.
You just go show you're smarter than me. That's what he's going to say. When somebody would cheat somebody else, he'd say, if I got cheated on something, he'd say, just go to show they're smarter than you.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Mr. Volts, is he in court or is he?
No, he's online.
That's testamentary self-proved. Okay, let's bring them in.
Let me see it before we bring it in. This is good. It's just a little bit louder. My voice out of here. That's kind of loud, huh? Is that too loud?
Probably not for Judge.
Oh, yeah, probably not for me.
I couldn't even hear her over the TV.
William Jones. What is June?
All right, good morning, Mr. Volts. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Your Honor. I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Okay, Mr. Jones is going to need to enable his video.
Enable, what does that mean?
If you're on a touch screen, are you on a touch screen? If you're going to need to hover your mouse or touch the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it should show an icon of a video camera. You'll need to click that to enable it so that I can see you.
Okay, hold on.
Up there.
Can you see me now, Judge?
I cannot.
Lord have mercy. Oh, wait a minute. That's okay. Now, can you see me?
I can. All right. Are you Dwayne Jones?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, and what is your relationship to William Kilpatrick?
He was my very good friend.
Okay. If I can get you to raise your right hand, please, Mr. Jones. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this call should be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Jones, since we're doing this by Zoom and I have the original of the will, I'm going to do some of the questioning. I'm going to hold up what purports to be the last will and testament of William G. Kilpatrick. Do you recognize that as being his will?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to the signature page. Were you well acquainted with Mr. Kilpatrick's signature?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does that appear to be his signature on that document?
Yes, it is.
And to your knowledge, after the date he made this will, which purports to have been on November 20th of 2023, did he ever change it or revoke it?
No, he didn't.
Okay. Well, did Mr. Bolt send you a document called a proof of death and other facts?
I did receive something it was a bunch of questions that need to be addressed, and then I signed it and have it notarized at the end of this meeting.
Yes. Do you have that with you there?
I have it on the phone. I haven't had it printed out yet.
Okay. Did you read it?
I did.
Okay. Is everything contained in that proof of death and other facts true and correct and within your personal knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you are going, also, he would have sent you an oath of independent executor. So you're going to need to take that proof, print it out, and the oath, print it out, get those, sign those just as your name appears on those documents before a notary public.
Yes.
Return those to Mr. Volz. Mr. Volz will e-file those with the county clerk. When he does that, I will sign the order admitting Mr. Kilpatrick's will to probate and authorizing the county clerk to issue letter testamentary. We're also going to send Mr. Volz this instruction sheet. It's a guide that explains what your duties and responsibilities are.
Yes.
And he will send it to you. And one thing you need to make sure you do, 90 days from the date I sign that order, the estates code requires you to file an inventory. He'll explain to you what's involved in the inventory. Make sure you cooperate with him in getting that done. If you don't get it done, I'll have to remove you as executor, and it's a lot more trouble to get you requalified, okay?
Okay.
All right. Well, y'all have a great day, and Mr. Volt, let us know if you need anything.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate the court letting us appear via Zoom as well.
You bet. Y'all have a great rest of your week.
You as
Thank
well,
you, sir.
Your Honor. Thank
You too. Yes, that's it, huh?
Should say leave meeting.
Well, you said leave me.
I'm not getting any audio at all. Actually has the probate court audio blocked out. Let me log on to another computer real quick. I have another one sitting right here. See if I have the same issue. I'm trying to get it started. I can't get it to start.
I am here if you can hear me. It's Marty Vaneski.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Is my video?
Yeah, I don't see you on the video. So if you tap your screen, you should be able to see at the bottom a video recorder, and that usually will turn on your video. There you go.
I think that's not got it. Does that work?
It worked. How are you today?
I'm sorry. I usually don't have any problems, but did this morning.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I wasn't sure. So I'm Marty. Nice to meet you. Are you Ron? Hi, Ron.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ron Cox.
Okay. I don't know which way I should make it go. It feels like I'm looking this way.
I'm Bill Waugh. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Bill.
Good.
Just barely. Let me. I've got my volume all the way up, but let me try that. How's that? Let me try that. Let me see if I can hear.
This way. Figure it out. So we're all waiting for the court to come in. I think there's a way to see everybody. Let's see. Oh, participants. Let's see. There's 5 of us. So we're waiting for the court.
I can't get the volume loud enough to hear.
Okay, so to get the volume, let me look. Are you on your phone?
A laptop.
Okay, you have to have a volume button on the bottom maybe of your laptop.
I'm sorry?
I think on the bottom of your laptop, there might be like 3 lines. It's separate from the Zoom, and you would have to turn your volume up that way. I think.
All right, everybody who is on the computer and everybody who's in court that's going to testify, please rise. And raise your right hand. And
I think I can.
you will raise your right hand. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this call should be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
Okay. All right. So you can see, each of you that are attending via Zoom can see Mr. Henry, who's here representing the estate. And I am going to call, we have called out in the corridor, so I'm going to call online. We have tried to get in touch with Mr. Christopher Cantu Cox on numerous occasions without success, and left him messages where he is confined. And so is Mr. Christopher Cox on here? Okay, hearing no answer, Mr. Henry, please proceed with your first witness.
All right, please, the court, I'd like to go ahead and proceed with the folks that are on Zoom, just while we have a good link.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and question them? We have, sir, you are Bill Wall?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And ma'am, under Marty's iPad, what is your name?
Marty Vaneski.
Say that again?
Marty Vaneski.
Okay. And you're Mr. Ron Cox?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go right ahead, Mr.
All
Henry.
right, if we're good, I would begin with Mr. Waugh. Would you please state your full name for the record?
My full name is William M. Waugh, Jr.
And you live at 414 Camino del Placida, number 34, Taos, New Mexico. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you're familiar specifically with the family history of Wayne Edward Craddock, the decedent Jeffrey Wayne Craddock's fathers, correct?
Correct.
And you knew him while he resided in Mexico, but you did not New Mexico, but you did not know him when he resided in Beaumont, correct?
That is correct.
You knew Wayne Edward Craddock from 1982 until his death on June 10th, 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're generally aware that he was married to Kathy Chambers Craddock and that he had children from a prior marriage. Is that correct?
Correct.
You can't testify to his marital history as it existed in Texas. You're just familiar with a family that resided in New Mexico.
Correct.
Mr. Wayne Edward Craddock's final marriage was to Kathy Chambers Craddock. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there were two children born of that marriage, Devin L. Craddock and Avery Ann Craddock Blair. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wayne Edward Craddock also legally adopted Kathy Chambers Craddock's son, Noah Noah Chambers Craddock, also known as Noah Daniel Craddock. Is that correct?
Correct.
You're personally acquainted with the two daughters, Devin L. Craddock and Avery Ann Craddock Blair. Is that right?
Correct.
You're not personally acquainted with Noah Chambers Craddock or Noah Daniels Craddock, but know of him through conversations with Wayne Edward Craddock. Is that right?
Correct.
As far as you know, the age, address of the heirs of the decedent from Wayne Craddock's marriage to Kathy Chambers Craddock or Avery Craddock Blair, who resides in New Mexico. She's an adult and she is the half sister of the decedent, Jeffrey Wayne Craddock. Is that correct?
Correct.
And also Noah Daniel Craddock, who is incarcerated in Albuquerque, New Mexico as an adult, and he is an adopted half brother. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then also Devin L. Craddock, who is an adult who resides in San Diego, California. She is a half sister, correct?
Correct.
And you know of those heirs, and you generally are aware that the decedent, Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, had other siblings from Edward Craddock's prior marriage, but you cannot testify to their identities, correct?
Correct.
That's all the questions I have of this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Is it Jeffrey Wayne Craddock or Wayne
Edward Craddock.
Edward Craddock?
Wayne is the father and Jeffrey is the deceased.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. The court takes notice of your report. You do want to ask questions of Ms. Vaneski?
Yes, sir. Please state your full name for the record.
Marty Christina Vaneski.
Ms. Vaneski, what is your address?
4766 West Calamirna Avenue, Fresno, California, 93722.
And you're personally familiar with the family and marital history of Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, the decedent, and in particular to the family and marital history of the decedent's father, Wayne Edward Craddock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you knew Wayne Edward Craddock from 2005 until his death on June 10th, 2016. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that he was married to Patricia Rieger Craddock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that there were 3 children born of that marriage: Carol Craddock Lucas, Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, and the decedent. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're also aware that Mr. Wayne Edward Craddock adopted Patricia Rieger Craddock's son from a previous relationship, namely John Edward Craddock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that the decedent's sister, Karen Craddock Cox, predeceased her father and predeceased the decedent. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You know she had children, but you're not aware of the identity of those children. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're also aware that Wayne Edward Craddock was married a second time after his marriage to Patricia Rieger Craddock and before his marriage to Kathy Chambers Craddock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're aware that there are no children born to that marriage. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Wayne Edward Craddock's final marriage was to Kathy Chambers Craddock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There are 2 children born to that marriage: Devin L. Craddock and Avery Ann Craddock Blair. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Wayne Edward Craddock also legally adopted Kathy Chamber Craddock's son, Noah Daniel Craddock, also known as Noah Chambers Craddock. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The heirs of the decedent, Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, as you believe, are his sister, Carol Craddock Lucas, who resides in Dallas and who's the applicant in this case, John Edward Craddock, who is resides in Connecticut and who is the adopted son from the first marriage with Patricia Rieger Craddock, Avery Craddock Blair, who is the half sister from the marriage to Kathy Chambers Craddock, Noah Daniel Craddock, also known as Noah Chambers Craddock, who was the adopted half brother from the relationship with Kathy Chambers Craddock, and Devin L. Craddock, who is a half sister, also born of the relationship with Kathy Chambers Craddock. And in addition there too, the children of Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, but you're not familiar with their identities. Is all that correct?
That is correct, sir.
And those individuals I just named, you believe those to be the heirs of the decedent?
I do, sir.
Jeffrey Wayne Craddock.
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions
Any
I have.
questions for this witness, Mr. Moses?
Yes, Ms. Biskey, you and I talked for quite
Move
a,
in a little
okay.
bit.
You and I talked for quite a while. I'm Tom Moses. We talked on the phone.
Yes, sir.
You told me that you spent many hours with Mr. Wayne Craddock. Is that correct?
That
And
is correct.
You felt that you had a pretty good idea of his family and the children that he and his 2 wives had accumulated during his lifetime. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. And actually you're married to one of the children who was born prior to his marriage to the last wife. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Okay. Do you have any questions of Mr. Cox?
Yes, Your Honor, if you could just go ahead and go through that.
Go right ahead.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Donald Edward Cox.
Mr. Cox, I can barely hear you.
Okay, I've got everything maxed out up here. Let me see if I can speak even louder. Ronald Edward Cox,
Okay. Go right ahead.
All right, let's try again, see where we are. Can you state your full name for the record?
Ronald Edward Cox,
That's all we've got.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Mr. Cox, you live at 9246 Wellsworth Drive, Houston, Texas. Is that correct?
yes, I do.
And you're personally familiar with the family history of Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, the decedent. Is that correct?
Yes,
And you knew the decedent from 1975 until approximately 1983. Is that correct?
correct,
And you were actually married to his sister, Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman. Is that correct?
correct,
You're aware that the decedent was predeceased by his father, Wayne Edward Craddock, who died in 2022, and his mother, Patricia Rieger Craddock, who died in 1988. Is that correct?
yes,
You're aware that Wayne Edward Craddock and Patricia Rieger Craddock were married in approximately 1948 and divorced in Jefferson County around 1973. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes,
There were 3 children born of that marriage: the decedent, Carol Craddock Lucas, and Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman. Is that correct?
correct,
There was also 1 child adopted during that marriage, John Edward Craddock. Is that correct?
correct,
Patricia Rieger Craddock did not have or adopt any other children and did not take any other children into her home or raise any other children in her lifetime other than the 4 just mentioned. Is that correct?
that's that I'm aware of.
You're aware that Wayne Edward Craddock had other children while living in New Mexico, but you cannot testify to their identities. Is that correct?
No,
The decedent was predeceased by his sister, Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, who died June 9th, 2013. Is that correct?
correct,
Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman was married 3 times that you're aware of, correct?
correct,
She was married to Richard Joe Perry in July 1968 in Jefferson County, Texas, and that marriage ended in divorce on June 9th, 1972, also in Jefferson County, Texas. Is that correct to your knowledge?
I'm not really aware of, I knew she was married, but I didn't know the date.
You're aware that they were married and divorced, but not necessarily the dates. Is that
Yeah.
testimony? There were no children born of that marriage. Is that correct? She was also married to Arthur M. Thomas III, and our record showed in February 23rd, 1974 in Harris County, and divorced in August 14th, 1975. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right. To your knowledge, there were no children born of that marriage, correct?
correct,
She was also married to you on November 27th, 1975, correct?
yes,
And that marriage ended in divorce in Harris County on August 8th, 1983, correct?
yes,
2 children were born of that marriage, Patrick Cox and Christopher Cox, also known as Christopher Cox Cantu. Is that correct?
correct,
Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman was last married to Charles R. Whiteman Jr. on August 1st, 1986, and that marriage ended in divorce on March 18th, 1999 in Harris County. Is that correct?
correct,
There was 1 child born of that marriage, that being Charles R. Whiteman III, correct?
correct,
To your knowledge, Karen Craddock Cox did not have any other children or adopt any children or take any other children into her home to raise as her own in her lifetime, other than Patrick Cox, Christopher Cox, and Charles R. Whiteman Jr. Is that correct?
That's correct.
To your knowledge, the heirs of the decedent, Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, are his siblings, Carol Craddock Lucas, and adopted sibling John Edward Craddock, the three children of Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, that being Patrick Cox, Christopher Cox Cantu, and Charles R. Whitman III, correct?
Correct.
And if there were any other children born to Wayne Edward Craddock, you're not aware of those, but you believe there were other children, correct?
Yes, I do not know them. I know there were other children, but I do not know them.
You did not know them?
He did not know them.
Okay.
Can I testify
Okay.
to him? To your knowledge, Jeffrey Wayne Craddock did not have a will. Is that correct?
That's what I've heard of.
And you are aware that, to your knowledge, no one else is opening an estate for Mr. Craddock. Is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of, nothing.
All right, thank you. Why don't you get any questions?
No,
Mr.
sir, I was never able to reach Mr. Thomas.
Okay, will you call up your witnesses from the audience that you wish to have testify?
Yes, Your Honor.
I guess this is going to be on the Texas side.
Moving on to Texas. Let's
Okay.
start with Ms. Denise.
Can you bring them up here in case anybody online wants to see them?
Sure. We'll start with Denise Swallow.
You can bring them all three up. And if you want to, you can question them all at the same time, and they can, if any of them has any disagreement, they can. They're going to be different.
They don't have
between-
the same knowledge.
Okay, very, very good. Gotcha. All right,
This is a patch job.
you've already been sworn. Move forward a little bit, ma'am.
There you go.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, please proceed.
Would you please state your name for the record?
Mary Denise Swallow,
And where do you live in Swallow?
395 Belvedere, Beaumont, Texas, 77706.
And you're familiar with the family and marital history of Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, is that correct?
Yes,
You knew Mr. Craddock, the decedent, from 1994 approximately to his death, is that correct?
that's correct.
He died February 17, 2023 in Beaumont, Texas, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're aware that he was married once in his lifetime to Mary Ann Thomas on May 28, 1993, and that marriage ended in divorce on June 3rd, 1999, correct?
That's correct.
He was not married at the time of his death.
It was not.
The decedent did not have or adopt any children, did not take any children into his home to raise, or did not take any other children in his home to raise during his lifetime. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And he was predeceased by his father, Wayne Edward Craddock, who died June 10, 2022, and his mother, Patricia Rieger Craddock, who died December 24, 1988. Edward Craddock and Patricia Rieger Craddock were married June 12, 1948, and divorced in Jefferson County on May 15, 1973. Is that correct?
I'm not sure on this date. Yes,
Okay. There were three children born of that marriage: Carol Craddock Lucas, Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, and the decedent. Is that correct? There was one child that was adopted during that marriage. That was John Edward Craddock, correct? Patricia Rieger Craddock did not have or adopt any other children or take any other children into her home to raise during her lifetime. Is that correct?
as far as I know.
Edward Craddock was also married to Kathy Chambers Craddock. Is that right?
That's correct.
There were two children born of that marriage, Devin L. Craddock and Avery Ann Craddock Blair, correct?
Correct.
Wayne Craddock, Edward Craddock also legally adopted Kathy Chambers' son, Noah Daniel Craddock, or Noah Chambers Craddock, correct?
Correct.
Except as set forth above, to your knowledge, Wayne Edward Craddock did not have or adopt any children and did not take any children into his home or raise any other children in his lifetime. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yes, sir.
Decedent was predeceased by Sister Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, who died June 9th, 2013. Is that correct? You're aware that Karen was married several times and had children, but you don't know the particulars of those marriages or those children.
I know she had 2 sons that I've heard about, Patrick and Christopher, I believe.
To your knowledge, the heirs of the decedent are his siblings, Carol Craddock, Lucas, and John Edward Craddock, his half siblings, Avery Craddock Blair, Noah Daniel Craddock, and David L. Craddock, as well as the children of Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, whoever the evidence may show them to be. Is that correct? That's all the questions I have this
Any
week.
questions?
No,
All right, you may return to your seat. Call your next witness.
Do you want to have her sign?
Yes,
She's
please.
here.
She's read this off.
Yes, I have a copy.
You've read the affidavit and you're comfortable with the information in there, is
As
correct?
long as your dates are correct, yes.
So you're using the wrong hand. Next call, Melanie G. Dishman.
Good morning.
Morning, Judge.
Welcome to the fun.
Please state your full name for the record.
Melanie Gay Dishman
And Ms. Dishman, where do you reside?
at 4420 Thomas Lane.
And you're familiar with you're familiar with the family and marital history of the decedent Jeffrey Wayne Craddock, is that correct?
I am.
You knew him from 1966 until his death, is that correct?
Just, yeah, around it. They lived across the street.
And Jeffrey died on or about February 17, 2023 in Beaumont, Texas. Is that
That's
correct?
my understanding, yes.
He was married just once in his lifetime to Mary Ann Thomas on May 28, 1993. Is that correct?
I knew that, yes.
And that marriage ended in divorce on June 3rd, 1999, correct?
I knew that as well, yes.
And there was no other marriages for Mr. Craddock, and he was not married at the time of his death,
Not
correct?
that I'm aware of, no.
He did not have or adopt any children, did not take any children into his home to raise in his lifetime, is that correct?
Yes,
He was predeceased by his father, Wayne Edward Craddock, who died June 10, 2022, and his mother, Patricia Rieger Craddock, who died December 24, 1988, correct? Yes.
yes, sorry, yes.
Wayne Edward Craddock and Patricia Craddock married on or about June 12, 1948, and divorced in Jefferson County on May 15, 1973. Is that correct?
Yes,
There were 3 children born of that marriage. The decedent, Carol Craddock Lucas, and Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman. Is that correct?
yes,
There's also one child that's adopted during the marriage. That's John Edward Craddock, correct?
yes,
Patricia Rieger Craddock did not have or adopt any children and did not take any other children into her home or raise any other children in her lifetime. Is that correct?
no,
Wayne Edward.
yes,
Wayne,
yes, it's correct,
Wayne Edward Craddock was married to Kathy Chambers Craddock. Is that correct?
yes,
You're aware that they had children during that marriage in New Mexico, but you're not aware of the particulars. Is that correct?
yes,
You're aware that the decedent was also predeceased by his sister Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, who died June 9, 2013. Is that correct?
yes,
You're aware that she was married several times and had children, but you don't know the particulars. Correct?
it's correct,
So to your knowledge, the decedent's heirs are Carol Craddock Lucas, John Edward Craddock, the children of Wayne Edward Craddock, and Kathy Chambers, and the children of Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, correct?
yes,
And all of those individuals would be adults, is that right?
yes,
To your knowledge, Jeffrey Wayne Craddock did not have a will, correct?
yes,
And no other administration has been open to your knowledge. Nobody else has contacted you other than regarding this proceeding. That's all the questions I have this week.
Any questions of this witness?
The only question I have, you live across the street
I did.
from them, so you knew
I grew up-
Carolyn, grew up with them.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
So you're pretty good knowledge of.
Yes, of those years, yes, very
Thank
much so, yes.
You may step down.
There you
Want
go.
to- want to sign?
Sign here.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah. We're gonna,
Have you read this? Yes, okay.
you have one more witness?
One more, and it's a short one. That's one hold.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would call Victorio Jesus Martinez, also known as Jesse, correct?
If you previously been sworn, you may proceed.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Pedro Jesus Martinez,
And where do you live, Mr. Martinez?
611 West Side, Pasadena.
And you were familiar with Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman, is that correct? Yes, sir. You didn't really know a lot about the rest of the family, but you grew up with her children, correct? And you knew her from about 1987 until her death on June 9th, 2013, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You were aware that she was married to Ron Cox, who testified earlier here today, is that correct? You're aware that there were 2 children born of that marriage, Patrick Cox and Christopher Cox, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You're also aware that she was married to Charles R. Whiteman. There was 1 child born of that marriage, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was Charles R. Whiteman III, correct?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, those are the only 3 children that Ms. Craddock Cox Whiteman had during her lifetime, correct?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, there were no other children that lived in her home or that she took in to raise?
No, sir.
And to your knowledge, she was not married at the time of her death?
Okay. And how long did you know Karen Craddock Cox Whiteman? From 1987?
Something like that, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. If everything in there's true and correct, you can sign that. Any questions? All right,
Do you know-
so
Can you print that underneath for me?
all 3 names. You'll get those proofs from Mr. Wall and Ms. Vanesky. And
Mr. Cox as well.
Mr. Cox.
if you can, and let's get those filed and we'll get you going.
If I could go ahead and talk to them about that.
Please
real
go right ahead.
I previously sent affidavits to you all to review and that reflect your testimony today. If you would sign those before a notary and return those to my office so that I can file them with the court, that will allow us to move forward. You should have my address and everything. If you have any questions, you've got my phone number, my address, my email, just call and we'll work any problems you may have out. And thank y'all so much.
Thank you for your time today. You may all be excused. We appreciate you and we'll look forward to getting your affidavits of facts concerning the identity of heirs. And you may sit down, sir. Counsel, if y'all will come forward. I want, obviously, the nature of this case. I take it that Mr. Craddock also owns a home on Sparrow Way.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's not listed in the affidavit of actually, but I guess you only listed personal property.
Correct.
But the attorney's fees for the ad litem are woefully those aren't enough attorney's fees for the work that's
Thank
been
you, Your
done.
Honor.
So
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask y'all to come to an agreement and submit a motion in order to the court for additional attorney's fees for the ad litem.
I had already suggested that to Mr. Moses
Thank
that if he applied for additional fees that they seem appropriate.
All righty. We'll wait for
We're gonna swear
Mr.
in.
Wall and Ms. Vanesky and
We're gonna
Mr.
swear
Cox to get you the documents. Yeah, I think Mr. Cox is gonna need a document. And, what about Miss Lucas? Is she here?
She's here. We'll go ahead and prove up the.
Okay, let's get it done. Please come forward, ma'am. Did you take the oath earlier?
On administrator, would you like me to go through the proof of death or?
Have you had an opportunity to review this proof of death and other facts?
In a while.
When it was first written, I think that's about.
Okay, go ahead and review it
That's
right
what I
now.
Refer to.
While she's looking through that, John, I just wanted to thank Mr. Moses and the court staff for getting us here today. This was not a simple matter.
No.
Well, with all the witnesses that have showed up to help us today.
You're welcome.
It's taken a village.
It is definitely convoluted. Mr. Black, are you here today on behalf of Mr. Hines? Okay, very good. All right, is everything in that document true and correct and within your personal knowledge?
Yes, it is.
Okay, if you'll go ahead and sign that. Behind that, your affidavit of assets. And
This would not be correct in today's market either. This is as of the 25th when I prepared this for February.
okay,
So this is approximate. It's not, because his biggest asset is in a Fidelity account.
That number may not be exact, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Because of change in the market's what she's saying.
okay, you say that's as of February 25th?
Yes, February 25th, that was the value. Just want to
Yeah, I just put as of February 25th.
Your Honor, on the bond, we anticipated, whatever the court deems appropriate, we anticipated having a safekeeping agreement.
Yeah, you'll need to talk to Fidelity about a safekeeping agreement. Go ahead and start working on that while we're waiting on the affidavit of fact concerning the identity of heir.
And then also.
And then we'll set the bond because I'm not gonna sign the order till I get them all in.
Right, and also Chase Bank, I think there was about $64,000 in cash.
And you can do a safekeeping agreement with them. And we will, those safekeeping agreements and, remove those from the requirements of the bond. All righty. If there's anything else, contact me in the interim.
Yes, sir.
And we will hopefully get everything going.
All right, thank you, Your
All
Honor.
right, y'all have a great rest of your week.
have a good one. Thank you.
And Ms. Lucas, where do you live?
Dallas.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw somewhere Oklahoma and I didn't see a designation of
From what I
resident agent.
understand, it's South Oklahoma. New to Dallas. I've only been there 2.5 years.
Okay, y'all be careful.
Thank you. Just call.
All right, the court calls number 127416 in the guardianship of Gerald